Hello everyone and welcome back to my cookery channel. Don't you think this rosemary in full bloom? It's looking absolutely amazing. It looks really pretty in my garden, I've got to say, but I'll show you how to make it look even prettier on top of a sourdough focaccia. Follow me to the kitchen and I'll show you how to do it. So this is the very first step I'd say I would follow to prepare my sourdough rosemary focaccia. I would start with refreshing or feeding my mother. This has gone a little bit flat. It was used yesterday evening to make this beautiful sourdough loaf that you can see over here, and which I baked this morning at 11 o'clock. So what I want to do is, in a very clean bowl, make sure that the scale is turned to 0. You add 100 grams, I'm going to take it like this, 100 grams of the mother. Mine is called Mariella, which is my mother's nickname actually, and they do keep you busy. It's like having a pet in the house. You have to keep feeding it every day. Here we go, 80, we're nearly there, a few more grams. And then you would add some flour to it. You need to get a fresh pot then to transfer it in, because the fed mother will have to rest. That's it. Gram more, gram less, it won't affect the end result. I would then add, I tend to use this strong white flour from Waitrose and Partners, but any strong white flour will do. Some people do it with just plain flour, which is absolutely fine. So we add, it's 3 parts. 1 part, 100 grams of the mother, of the initial starter. Then we add flour to it, another 100 grams. So it's exactly the same weight as the mother that you put in at first. So on 1, a little bit more, nearly there. Let's do things correctly and precisely. Here we go, 203. And then I would add 100 grams. I tend to use a natural mineral water, still obviously bottled water, because if you were to use tap water, so I'm just going to concentrate and then add too much of this. It's quite easy to go over. Nearly. Yeah, most tap water, as I was saying during the tutorial for the pizza, is enriched with chlorine, and chlorine would kill off your mother. So at this stage, I would actually mix this freshened up mother in the bowl, transfer it into a clean jar, and then let it rest for a period that varies between, I would say, 6 and 8 hours at room temperature. Now, the temperature in my house always around 20 degrees. I tend to transfer this, when it's fully well mixed, then back into a clean jar on top of the fridge, the refrigerator. It's in a high up position, so the temperature might be 21, 22 degrees up there. And in approximately 6-8 hours, this mix, I'm going to mix it really well now, will have doubled, if not trebled in size, and it's actually ready to use for the focaccia mix. And I will show you this very shortly. Now that our sourdough, the starter, has been refreshed and mixed very well, it looks like a cream, I'm going to be transferring it into a very clean jar. Make sure that there's no residues from some harsh soaps, because again, they will kill all the healthy bacteria that are present in the mother. Like I said, you need to feed your mother daily. You're not allowed to mistreat your mothers, as you know. I'm sure if you've got some in your house living with you, here we go, you will look after them very well. So, oops, that's it. Mother is in the jar. What I tend to use is use a little bit of this frog tape to mark the line and the level where the mother sits at soon after it's been refreshed. So also, I don't seal the lid because the mother will need to breathe. Oxygen is very important to feed all the good bacteria that are in there. So I leave it ajar, slightly open like this. Place it on top of the fridge. We can see what time is it now, and I'll show you what it looks like tonight. So it's, well, this is not particularly precise, but 1:45 in the afternoon. So later on this evening, I'll show you how this mother has actually risen, and then what I'm going to do with it to prepare our rosemary focaccia. See you shortly. So we're ready now to prepare the focaccia mix. We're coming out to 7 o'clock, close to 7 o'clock in the evening. If you remember this morning, the sourdough, the mother, was at this level as I fed it, and it's now nearly trebled in size. So this is absolutely perfect to bake. What we're going to need for the focaccia, for the mix, is strong white flour, semolina flour, water, bottled water, chlorine-free, extra virgin olive oil, sea salts, and that's about it, and a scale obviously in a very clean bowl. So let's start with adding the water. 100 grams of water. I'm going to put the scale on. You'll see it's going to start with 0 grams. I'm going to put 100 grams of water in here. Just do this slowly because it's so easy to overshoot the desired weight. As you can see, it's 104, actually it's ever so slightly more. So when I'm going to add the flour, I will add a tiny little bit more than the recipe that I'll be following. You then want to add 100 grams of starter. So I'm going to take it off, and actually a way to check that the starter is perfect for this baking is noticing that the starter floats in the water. So sticky. And believe you me, it is floating. There isn't a lot of water in there, but it is floating, which is an indication, obviously, that the bacteria are doing their work. There's a lot of bubbles in the mix. Look how gluey it is. Jesus. Here we go. 138. We're just going to add more until we reach 100 grams in here. Very nearly. And then we'll have a really good stir to dissolve the starter. That's fine. As I said, you can't go precisely in, gram by gram. That'll do. Well, just that's perfect. For completeness sake, let's just add this a little bit. So we don't want to mix and dissolve the starter into the bowl. Give it a nice little stir like this. In this bowl, we are now going to mix 150 grams of semolina flour. Okay. So remember, we're close to 200 grams. We want 150 grams of semolina, so we're going to go to 350. Nearly there. Perfect. And we're going to mix this one very, very well. Make it like a smooth paste. And as the semolina is well dissolved in the water, we want to top up the water level up. In fact, it might be a good idea to take this off the scale, just so we can reset the scale for the correct measurement of the extra water that goes in. You can tell it's like quite a sticky dark yellow paste. This will give the focaccia's beautiful color and also that sort of crispiness which is necessary, particularly for the crust. So that's it. We are ready now to If I can reset this. Come on. Perfect. Now we're back to 0. So what we're going to do... Oh, Jesus. There we go. I'm trying to get the... here we go, the digital display to show in the camera. So 0 grams again. We want to add another 275 grams of water, again from the bottle, room temperature, 275. Nearly there. Try and get the ingredients as precisely as you can into the bowl. So I'm going to risk making a mess. So we're 1 gram short. Now this will take a little bit longer to actually dissolve. You can tell there's a bit of a log in there. The semolina is quite sticky, especially because it's now mixed with the sourdough. I will give this, Lady Amber's just called me from behind. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause this filming, dissolve this really well, give her a little bite to eat so she's happy, and then I'll come back to I know, I'm here to film the second part and complete this mix before we're going I know, before we're going to put it into the oven, but that'll be tomorrow morning because it will have to rest in the fridge overnight. Anyway, I shall be back in a second. So I've fully dissolved the semolina flour in the water. And what I want to add in now is, reset that, that's it. I want to add 275 grams of strong white flour. Yes, I'm coming. Here we go. 275, actually it's 280, and it's perfect because if you remember, I had 3 or 4 grams extra of water, bottled water, so this will be absolutely ideal. What I want to do now is just complete this mix it all very, very well until it becomes a very soft paste. I can add, actually at this stage, a couple of tablespoonfuls of extra virgin olive oil and mix everything together. I'm going to do it now. This is perfect. So I shall mix this very well. Potentially in the middle, I'm going to have to give a treat to Lady Amber of Windsor because she's being quite needy tonight and I don't want to upset her. I don't want to upset the mother, but also particularly I don't want to upset my elderly pussycat. So this is looking beautiful. I will mix it really well and I shall come back in a minute to just add the sea salt to the mix. This is very important. You don't want to use any of that terrible commercial salt, which is okay to boil pasta in a bowl, but yeah, not for a recipe of this sort. So give us a second. I will mix this really well and I'll be back to add the salt. And I'm back. So Amber's been fed. This has been mixed. Just as a little recap, I've started off with 100 grams of bottled water, natural mineral water, 100 grams of starter, making sure to use the starter that has been fed and it's ready to be used. I then added 150 grams of semolina flour. You would then mix everything well. You then add 275 grams of bottled water again, mix everything very well again, and then add 350 grams of strong white flour, plain flour, but it's strong flour, and 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. We're now going to add 12 grams approximately That will be approximately 12 grams. It looks a lot, but actually sea salt flakes are very light. So that is approximately 12 grams. You can weigh it. Actually, let's see, the scale is quite accurate. It's not even 10. So you've got 2 grams short. Let's put 2 extra grams. Salt is actually quite important for the focaccia. And then what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, once the focaccia is baked and it's coming out the oven, that's it. I wouldn't want to put more than that. There's a fair bit in there. Mix it again, and then when the focaccia comes out piping hot from the oven tomorrow, I will be adding extra tiny little bit of extra virgin olive oil on top, but some sea salt flakes just before it goes into the oven, right on the very top, and that will add that extra flavor on the crust. So you just want to mix it now really well. Leave it as a smooth paste, as you can see. Let me get it closer to the camera actually. And then you let it rest for approximately 20-30 minutes. And then you start folding the dough again into the same bowl. You can use silicone spatula. And you do that process 3 times. So as I am done with this initial mixing, and this has to be quite thorough at the beginning, I then let it rest for 30 minutes, fold it again as I am doing just now. You can do it with your bare hands, it's absolutely fine. I've actually learned to do it with a spatula so you keep your hands clean, but it's, you know, it doesn't matter really however you want to do it. If you haven't got silicone spatula, you can just do it with your hands. You can actually wet your hands first before you do it, so it doesn't stick to your hands, because this will be quite sticky. And then, yeah, you do it 3 times, the process you do 3 times, and then you cover the bowl with a cloth and place it into your refrigerator to rest overnight. And the mother, the sourdough starter, will do all the job of getting the focaccia mix to slowly rise, and then it'll start bubbling, and it'll be perfect for baking in the morning. So I am going to close this little clip here, leaving this beautiful focaccia mix in the bowl. I will cover the bowl with a clean tablecloth, and then in 30 minutes time I will come back and I will fold it again, and I will do so for 3 or so minutes. You can see it's a little bit wet. Actually, it's good to keep a damp cloths on top so that the top of the mix doesn't dry. And I'll be back to, I'll more than likely be back in the morning actually to show you how to place it in a tray, and so just scatter it, spread it onto a baking tray, and add the very, very final ingredients. So it's a generous drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, sprinkling over the leaves of the rosemary, and then place it into the oven at 250 degrees for 20-25 minutes. And there she is back asking for more food. 20-25 minutes, and you'll see the results in the morning. So I shall speak to you soon. Well, good morning everybody. Have you all slept well? I haven't. I had a dreadful night because I was on butler's duties looking after Lady Amber of Windsor until 7 o'clock this morning, so I'm feeling like death. But we need to finish off this rosemary focaccia. So the lady is currently fast asleep, and this is a great opportunity for us to finish off this beautiful recipe. So it's 11 o'clock now, roughly, and I have removed the focaccia mix from the fridge where it spent the night earlier on this morning about 7 o'clock, just before falling asleep. Now I don't know if you can see, but there are, let me put this one, little bubbles that have formed into the dough. What I'm going to be doing is to tip this mix into a baking tray which I have lined up with non-stick silver foil. and then I will start shaping this focaccia with my fingertips and sort of evenly spread it across the baking tray. And then as I do that, what you want to do actually in this process is to actually wet your fingertips. So make sure that you're close enough to kitchen sink. How beautiful and smooth is that? And I'm gonna, that's it, wet my fingertips so it won't stick. And then once you'll have done that, this focaccia will have to rest for another half an hour at room temperature. And that's before we add the very, very final touches. Make sure that it's the thickness of the mix is even across the baking tray. You don't have to go all the way into the corners. It's fine. It will be a rustic focaccia, but it's looking good as it is. And then just before it goes into the oven, I'm going to be adding the final touches, which is adding, well, first of all, again, using fingertips, I will be making little hollow spots where to drizzle olive oil just before it goes into the oven, and also sprinkle some sea salt crystals, and that looks perfect. And then I will add the rosemary, which I will prepare. I will take all the little leaves off the fresh rosemary that I picked up this morning from the garden, and we'll bake it at 250 degrees. So follow me and I will finish off this very shortly. And at last, let's add these final touches. I'm just going to wet my fingers to leave these dimples into the focaccia mix. Here we go. You can see as soon as you do it how the mix sticks to your finger, to your fingertips, but make sure that they're evenly created. This is it. The oven is just has been warmed up to 250 degrees, so we're ready to go. All I'm doing is just adding the final touches. Actually, it looks like the surface is beautifully prepared. What I'm going to do is first thing add some sea salt flakes. I prepared the right amount earlier on, and you want to scatter these evenly across the focaccia again. These will give quite some flavor to the crust when it's all done, and especially for people who are into savory food, this will be amazing. You can obviously ideally use this focaccia if you're entertaining guests, for example, in the garden. You could prepare it a little bit ahead of time before the arrival of your guests, and then you leave it in the garden for them to cut to however size they like, and stuff it with a selection of cold cuts or cheeses. So we then add the rosemary. This is so fresh. It's literally the tips that I've picked from the plant, so that'll be quite rich in rosemary oil. And I'm pretty sure that during the baking process, which is about 20 minutes at 250 degrees, I will place this on a low shelf in the oven. The entire house will smell of rosemary focaccia, which is absolutely amazing. It's like a bakery. So you want a good scattering of this, and during the cooking process the rosemary will release the oil from the plant. How beautiful. And yeah, and like sourdough bread, it'll take approximately 20-25 minutes. You want to check 20 minutes for sure, and then depending on your oven, really you want to keep an eye. Perfect. And then a generous scattering of extra virgin olive oil. This has never killed anybody. If anything, it has saved lives because it lowers your cholesterol levels. So you want to be quite generous with this. Buy good quality. And then after the cooking process, we'll add some really high-end olive oil for the final drizzle. So let me bake it. Let me put it in the oven. And in it goes, low shelf. It's that, 250 degrees. It's 12:27. In 20 minutes time, I'll have the first check. Well, 25 minutes time have elapsed. The focaccia should now be ready. I'm going to pull it out of the oven and then place it on the, here we go, on the oven hob. It's looking really beautiful and golden. So I will then let it rest for about 10 minutes. And the cooking process will, funny enough, continue because it's really hot inside. And in 10 minutes time, I will start slicing a little bit. Now 4-5 minutes into its cooling time, you want to be very gently shifting it onto a cooling rack for its final resting time. I've got one ready here. It's sticking a little bit. I must have clipped the foil. That's it. Here we go. And it'll spend about 10 minutes over here, and then I will show you, and I will slice a little bit to show you the crispiness of it. And at last, our focaccia is ready to be enjoyed. It's cooled down a little bit. It's been beautifully presented in case you have guests. All I need to do now, I'm going to trial this product today, is some extra virgin olive oil, organic. It was actually on sale from Waitrose the other day. I've never tried it before, hopefully, and I'm sure it'll be lovely. So what you want to do is add a final drizzle on top of your focaccia, and then we're ready to have a nice slice. It's lunchtime, so it will be perfect. Now let me actually shift the mic close to it because the crispiness will be something else. I'm going to put it here. Right, let's do it. Beautiful, and it is crispy on the outside, golden crumb, and it's perfectly soft. You can see how springy it is and bubbly in the middle. But on that note, ladies and gents, I'm going to sit outside the garden, pour myself a glass of wine, and I will have a little think at what I can present you with on the next video. So you look after yourselves, take care, lots of love, bye.